It's a pleasure to have Thomas Westphal with us today. He's the Director General for European Affairs at the Ministry of Finance of Germany, which has had a very nice discussion on the future of the euro. And I wanted you perhaps to tell us in a few minutes, if it were like three things that you think that the European Monetary Union should do in the next 2 to 3 years, which ones would they be?
Okay. Thank you very much, first of all, for the invitation. I'm very pleased to be here in Madrid for this discussion, and it was a very good discussion. Three things. Okay, the subject is broad. We could speak about this for weeks. If you want me to limit it to three elements, I would say, first of all, we have to be more sincere to deliver on what we have agreed in the past. I think that is very important, because what the monetary union needs is more confidence and trust from our citizens, and also from investors and from markets. The second thing is, I think we should have a serious second look at our European budget. There are 140 billion euros to be spent every year. It's only 1% of GDP for everybody to be paid in, but the redistributional effect of this can be tremendous. There are countries which get out 2, 3, 4% of their GDP in net terms every year of that budget. So we could look at that and use that money more effectively. I think that is a very broad issue, but I only want to touch on that bottom, if you like. Mm-hmm. And the third thing I would say is that our single market offers a lot of opportunities. That is very important for the EU 28, of course, but it's also very, very important for the monetary union, and we've started to do a lot of things with the banking union, with banking supervision, banking regulation. I think there is more to ripe as benefit from the internal market ideas. For example, we could ask ourselves the question, what does Europe have to do to become a more attractive place for investors? And if we, looked at the internal market from these horizontal question perspective, I think we could develop our policies at the European and at the national level to make it a more effective and more wealth-producing place.
Out of those three, I think the most innovative right now and has risen more interest is the one on the EU budget and how to use it. Mm-hmm. I mean, in our debate, you stressed that perhaps a lot of the structural reforms and a lot of the debates in the European semester could be linked to country-specific recommendations, and use this money then to tackle these reforms that need to be done. Can you elaborate a bit more?
Yeah, I mean, what it's all about here is how to make the European Monetary Union a more competitive place and a more productive place, as my French colleague phrased it in our debate. And so we have to think, we have to come out of our silos. We have silo policies today. We have some people running a budgetary policies, the other caring about policy coordination, and the third one caring about cohesion policy. I think we need to integrate this. If we agree that our policy coordination process needs to identify the main challenges for our European Union and for all the member states, once we have identified these challenges, we should more systematically use the cohesion policy, and that is the structural fund money, where member states get money attributed from the budget, but they have to bind it into projects which they themselves come up with. And they should focus by identifying these projects on the challenges which we have identified in the first place. So that they say, okay, here are my challenges, and this is the money I can get. So I finance the reforms I need to do to work on these challenges with the European budget money. And then, of course, you would have the European budget to finance this. So you would integrate policies of the one silo, today's silo, I would call it. It's a bit exaggerated, but to sharpen the ideas of the policy coordination silo with the cohesion policy and structural fund silo, and with the budget people. So that is some sort of integrated policy. An idea, by the way, which is very much in line, I think, with what Commission President Juncker had in mind when he introduced his structure of commissioners and vice presidents. So the vice president could, bring together several files to form an integrated European policy.
Mm-hmm. Finally, There are certain bigger ideas, more ambitious ideas out there about deepening the European Monetary Union, like having a deposit insurance, a European deposit insurance scheme, like having a Eurozone budget, like, you know, having a fiscal, a political union, even a Eurozone parliament. And it seems that for a lot of observers, Germany is dragging its feet on these issues. What would you say to this claim?
I don't think this is true. The current government in Germany stands in a long tradition of one of the founding fathers of the European Union. And so the idea is always, what can we do in Europe to make Europe a better place? So everybody puts in a share and we raise the benefit for us all out of the European idea. That is still true. Although there may be, and that's, I think, the recognition you're hinting at, there are different national approaches of how to go for that. For us, if we present an idea, we need to be in our country to be able to defend it. We need to be able to really, you know, give all the details for the next years, how exactly who is doing what, and, you know, what are the different steps. So what sometimes puzzles us is if somebody raises an idea which seems to be a good idea for in 10 years' time, but we are much more caring about how to go over the next 10 years. So we want to be step by step in, you know, building the thing up gradually over time, and we are willing to do that. But we are insisting on, you know, if you don't do these single steps, you can never reach the next phase. In some other countries, I understand that the political discussion debate is different. They want to discuss big ideas, and they don't care so much, or it's less important in the front at the upfront projection of the ideas, that you have all the elements ready at the first hand. So we insist on doing step 1 before step 4, but we don't disagree with step 4 maybe, but we think this can only be relevant once we've gone through the initial steps. Okay,
thank you very much, Mr. Westphal, for coming to the Elcano Royal Institute, and I think it was the first time, and I hope it's not the last one, and that we can have you here soon again to discuss these matters.
Thank you. It was my pleasure, and I'll always come back. You just have to invite me.
Perfect.